Michelle, thank you so much for joining me today to talk about the Forrester
Sure.
Wave. What? I'll start again.
Yeah.
Pause.
Okay.
Pause one more time. We're going to start again. All right. Michelle, thanks so much for joining me today to talk about the Forrester Wave. Before we jump into the results, let's get some context. From your perspective, why does it matter? Why does the Forrester Wave matter so much to CX and digital leaders?
I think because it truly is independent. It's an independent expert evaluation. And, that's easy to say. And I've even had people say, oh, but really it's about who's a client and, how much they spend. And it absolutely is not. There are inclusion criteria that vendors have to meet. It has absolutely nothing to do with whether you're a client, how much you engage with Forrester, how much you spend with Forrester. The only prerequisite is that you're on the radar of the analyst and known within the industry and part of that collection of vendors and that landscape. So it's really not pay for play, and it's tough. Like, it really is a rigorous evaluation. So because it's independent and expert, you're going to know the reality of that vendor's offering, their product, their service, their strategy. So it is a real useful tool when it comes to evaluating what vendor offerings, what differences they have, and what's going to meet different business leaders' needs and different requirements.
Yeah, and for those that really don't realize it, right, how extensive this whole thing is, right, the whole evaluation process is. Can you share a bit about how it's done and the level of rigor? Because I got to be honest, it is pretty intense from our side, but I don't think people realize the intensity and the level of rigor that goes into producing a report.
Yeah, no, it's intense from all sides, I think. I mean, it really, if you don't know a Forrester Wave, it is their inclusion criteria for the vendor. So in this case, we're talking about the Journey Management Wave. All the vendors are evaluated. They're a set of very detailed criteria, and they cover 3 different dimensions. So the strategy, the current offering, and customer feedback. And there is a process of intake as well. So that evaluation of each vendor's product and service across all those detailed criteria is based on what the vendors share. So there's a questionnaire that's completed and shared. Vendors have to do a strategy briefing. They have to do a product demonstration of current offerings. So it can't be any beta or planned functionality has to be current, and they have to share up to 3 customer references that Forrester will contact independently to survey and get feedback on the customer's point of view and their evaluation of working with the vendor. And all of that intake is used by an analyst to go through all the criteria and figure out how well different products and services measure up. And it is, based on that intake is a relative scale. And, you're going through all of the detailed criteria to get to that point. I guess I should say as well that the Forrester graphic is, the famous output of a Forrester Wave. And it reflects the evaluation of those dimensions. So on the x-axis, you've got the strategy. On the y-axis, you've got the score for the current offering. And then the prominence of the little bubble for each vendor is reflective of the customer feedback and how positive that is.
Good, amazing. And tell me a little bit about, a little bit more about what dictates placement and things like that.
Well, what dictate placement is the scoring across each of those. So you've got the detailed criteria across the 3 dimensions. And so the analyst will be, based on the questionnaire, the information, the product demo, will be evaluating how well the products and services meet the aspects of those criteria. And that provides a score for each criteria. That is all rolled up and weighted for each dimension. So you'll ultimately get a score for strategy, a score for the current offering, and a score for the customer feedback that then feeds into the placement on the wave graphic. But, speaking of placements on the Wave graphics, I know that, for the first time, JourneyTrack has, been part of the Forrester Journey Management Wave. And as your debut, you're leading the pack. You are right at the very, very top of the leaders. So, what does that mean for you and your team? And what do you think it reflects about the market that, you're debuting right up front?
Yeah, it's amazing, right? Honestly, it meant everything, right? I know the rigor that it takes to be there. I wondered if there was like many, to sort of to the earlier point, people think it's a pay to play, and we're not a Forrester client, right? We have done things at their conferences, but that's it, right? So you initially you think, well, is there any of that going to play in? And you really realize that it is pretty much what they say, right? And so for us, having that recognition was really validating, right, in that perspective, and it's both like validating and clarifying that the things that we thought were the right sort of way to, each of us have a different strategy and vision of where we're taking this. But I think for us, it was that moment of realization that, hey, and we've heard it from customers. You can also see it in other areas. If you look at our G2 ratings, we do a good job of listening to our customers and really trying to listen to what they're saying and having them help us really define a lot of some of the new features that we have, because we know that doing that is really listening to our customers. But I will tell you this: what it reflects for us is when we started this, right? I own an agency as well, and we had been doing journey maps the old school way. Some of the earlier players we tried, they weren't really enterprise ready, if you will, at that time, and even the customers weren't really ready for the whole concept of journey management as it meant. We were the first to do the Jira integration, and I think that was sort of the beginning of what sort of the definition of the category starts to happen from the set of companies that are there now. And it really what I think it does for the category, it's like it starts to tell that before people were kind of thinking about it, what I am seeing is finally that momentum. I've been doing this work for 27 years now, is what I counted the other days. And so it's nice to see that we're not just building software, we're part of an emerging category, and that people are finally starting to recognize it as a discipline, and really, it really is energizing as a whole, right? It's amazing, if I can say any less than that. So it's a really cool time for us.
Yeah. No, I can imagine. It's as I said, it is tough to score well in the wave. So to reach where you are reflects a lot of your efforts. And I think as well, the strength of your strategy and your approach to clients, because I know from when I was at Forrester and talking to you, but also working with you now, you really do have a focus on customer needs. And it reflects in your strategy, the vision and the clarity of where you're driving towards, the agentic approach, having a real well-defined roadmap of, planned enhancements, but also listening to clients. It's really about not just keeping pace with the rest of your peers and the landscape and the hype. It's about what clients need, what they need from the software, how can it be improved? And that really seems to be your continual focus. And it's, that really aligns with the fact that you see that in the Forrester Wave, I think you're one of only 2 vendors that got the double halo for their customer feedback. So you're a client favorite. So, again, reflective of the fact that you really focus on your customers. So well done.
Yeah, we definitely worked really hard to do that. We got 1 halo. Just that there's only 2 years I got 1 halo, but that's amazing.
Well, the extra halo, the
extra halo. There you go.
That's a new part of the wave, by the way, which is why I'm like.
So, but yeah, I think that's a testament, right? For us, like the biggest thing that I think really was when we saw this. We saw a preliminary version only with us in it, right? Everybody did as vendors. And so we assumed, we're like, wow, we got a perfect score across the strategy. Of course, we were besides ourselves, we're like amazing, right? It basically signaled that what we've been thinking is is aligns and really with, especially because Forrester gets so much more access to a lot of, huge companies. We work, I mean, majority of our clients are enterprise, right? But I will tell you this, I mean, obviously they've been around for ages, and they get a lot more, day-to-day conversations, because that's part of their analyst role, right? When you were there as well. But to us, like having that aligned and seeing it was amazing. So getting the highest possible score, and then also even along the other axis for capabilities, we were thrilled, because there's just a lot of areas there that were amazing. But I guess from your analyst perspective, what kind of strategy strength signal is, what does that signal to enterprise buyers when a vendor does
signals that? It signals that really you're an all-rounder. It's very, very unusual to score highly across all areas. It really is. And so, thinking about the evaluation criteria within strategy, it shows that you have, a clear, focused vision that aligns with client needs. It aligns with the evolution of the category and future needs. You've got a strong roadmap in terms of planned capabilities. And you have a great partner network that's also part of that. So you have a network that's going to help your clients realize value, build adoption, and get the most out of the platform as well. So that's part of the strategy. And then the current offering, it's the strength of the tools to really get to what clients need when it comes to journey management, and the visualization of journeys, the evaluations, the data analysis, and it's a differentiator, excuse me, for JourneyTrack. But what do you think it is about JourneyTrack that is differentiating, that puts you up top?
I think for us, we've been very intentional, right? And we've been very on point. We don't just, build a bunch of features just to build features, right? We're keeping up pace, and we're obviously leading in some, but the features that we have that are unique to us and differentiate us, anything from early on when we did workshopping. I mean, the whole pain of going into Miro and trying to bring it out and bring it to somewhere else, that having owning an agency, I know that this takes a lot of time to pull out, right? And nobody can get Miro exactly right this way, back to the data, because the data isn't structured. So, the others tried to put data in from Miro. That didn't really work out really well. So I think having in was a really smart strategy to start with. And then when we built our AI features, we really looked at really helping customers, increase like the time to value, to increase their productivity, to really answer some of the things that were honestly the pain points of doing this work and the like, helping them reveal patterns, helping them align actions to metrics, and ultimately also just doing the storytelling thing, which came out, right around this summer, which was customers are just still raving about, because it's a feature unique to us, which really gets to the sort of problem that all our platforms have had to date, which is like, you're in there, you have a bunch of data in there, so what? So you build a bunch of journeys, and then what? So really helping them move that story along, which is a really hard skill. And I've hired hundreds of people over my lifetime, right? Getting folks tell a story around the data is hard. And so we did a really amazing, the team here at JourneyTrack did an amazing job to do that. I'm really proud of, honestly, this win is not just ours. This is a really high functioning team. Like, we have a super team, right? So that's really been sort of our edge, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely. Where do you think you're going in the future? Like, how is JourneyTrack positioned to keep that leading role?
Yeah, we're in agentic already, right? So we're starting to build our agents for us. In order, we really are listening to customers. So we have some really phenomenal, agents that are pulling across governance, cross data kind of work, really to help them elevate decision making and help them reduce kind of the work. When you're scaling this at hundreds of journeys, it becomes really hard to do the upkeep, right? So we really want to do the things that will make this that's a little bit more easy to manage at scale. And right now, none of the tools do that, right? And so we're first to lead that sort of movement. So we're super excited about that. I think for us, it's really continuing to do that while we're also just, we have a bunch of integrations, but we're continuing to add more as it makes sense, not just to add one, right? And I think that's what, we listen to our customers, like, why do they want this? What does that do for them? Because even though everybody's talking about measurements and doing that, like most CX teams don't have yet access to all the data. So it's just to build it is not, what customers need. They rather focus attention and maybe other parts of their day-to-day work that could be a little bit more impactful because they're not there yet. And we're finding that's only a very, small percent that are totally in way high maturity, right? Most companies are like, low to medium, if I'm real.
Yeah. Well, and it's difficult to do. It's not something you can switch on immediately, journey management and, coordinating teams and the alignment across the organization. So I think it's appropriate to listen to your customers and
many of
see
them
where
are
they are.
Like to take our Snowflake integration, they have to get access there. That's something that regularly like CX leaders didn't have access to, and they were trying to add in operational data, but they just haven't had it traditionally, right? So the more advanced ones, probably about a quarter to a third of our customers will do that, but it is still early, if you will. So I'm curious though, I mean, Michelle, kind of taking it back to you, there's if you think about CX leaders who are navigating just decisions, prioritizations, budgets, when I was back in the day when I was at IBM and in my early career, right? Obviously, the Wave, even then, the Waves still to today are super important, right? Talk to me. What should people take away from the performance, from the Wave, from our performance there? What does that tell? What is the signal to them?
Yeah. Well, I think definitely the first is that the value of the Wave is that it truly is independent expert evaluation. So you are getting the real evaluation of the strength and range of a vendor offering. In terms of JourneyTrack's performance, it's a great example of an all-rounder. So, in terms of the tool, the Wave as a tool is really designed to help business leaders across the board evaluate vendors based on their specific requirements, because every company will have a slightly different nuance in what they need first, second, third, what's an immediate need, for what's a future need. But with JourneyTrack, you've scored high in strategy, you've scored high in customer current offering and in customer feedback. And that's a unique position to be in. And so you are very, very likely to be able to meet a range of different customer needs, both immediately and in the long term. So, I think the takeaway really is that it is a very difficult evaluation. It reflects the reality of the strength of your current offering, your strategy, how close you are to customers, how solid and positive their feedback and their experience is. And it's a trusted source.
If you look forward and think about where this space is evolving, it's interesting for sure.
Don't know how to close.
One question I need to answer from you.
Is there?
Yeah, I was trying to lead you in, but we're gonna pause and then that way she can edit it.
Is it how you see the space evolving? Because I was jumping around.
I think that was it.
Okay.
Yes.
So thinking that, Ania, how do you see the space evolving?
For me, I think I have this really, really good slide that has, the old day was like journey mapping. We're now in this journey mapping phase where there's AI assisted, right? And as we move into agentic, it's all about journey optimization and intelligence, right? And that perspective. And so it's no longer like the era of documentation just for the sake of documentation is gone, right? For years, people used to map these things and focus on doing that one map that was on the board, right? it's all about optimization at scale. So basically understanding real time, getting all the data signals you're bringing in where friction exists, what improvements create the highest return, knowing exactly, governing those journeys because and integrating those insights at scale, right? And really helping clients and customers and brands really accelerate their path from learning to execution, if you will. And so we're uniquely positioned to lead that. For me, we actually talked about this recently in another webinar, but if you think about operating systems, the way they work, right? JourneyTrack, we built a platform where people can create almost an operating system across it, right? And so that they can prioritize, act, optimize continuously, and not just use AI just to describe what's happening, but actually help them fix it, understand why, understand the impact, and what improvements can really move the metrics forward. We actually, one more thing I should add is that we lead, I think, in certain ways because we're the one system that really does a nice job of like closing the loop between insight, action, and outcome, and really showing that impact. And so the whole journey impact was sort of the beginning of that phase. And so we help organizations really sort of take that in and create the buy-in they need. And that's still because the category is still nascent, if I would say, right? This is the first time, we were the first time on it, but this is the first time Forrester does this category, right? In the past, they've done journey mapping once, but they hadn't done journey management. So I think that kind of thinking is really what has elevated us. So now let's do some closing. Let's do some final things. So all right. So if there was one message, Michelle, I'm going to do it to you, and then you can do it to me.
Okay.
So if there's one message we want leaders to walk away from the results, what do you think that is from your perspective?
I think that I'm going to go back to it's the strength and independence of the results of the evaluation. It is independent expert review, and you can truly trust that it is a rigorous evaluation of the products and the services of vendors in the journey management space. Yeah. What about you?
Okay. All right.
What is the takeaway?
I'm going to be cheeky a little here. To me, the wave makes one thing clear: the era of journey mapping is over, right? And as it is, the future of journey, if you will, management is optimization, and that JourneyTrack is the platform built to lead it.
It is. Well, it's reflected in the results. Currently, that is true.
Yeah, but so, I think it's me, I'm not that person. So, but it's amazing. It's obviously enterprises are really taking hold and footprint because this has been a long-standing point for a lot of companies trying to optimize their experiences, end to end, and it's amazing that we're there to help them.
Absolutely. Okay.